welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today the showcase begins for Stranger Things from CMON Games. We're on the Season 1 side of this double-side game board where you can play the first season or flip it over to enjoy the second season. And as you saw in my how to set up video, as well as my unboxing, you've seen all the components as well as the setup to get season number 1 to the table. If you haven't seen those videos, take a look in the top right-hand corner. I'll put a link there so you can check them out. If you're not talking about solo board games anywhere else, you're going to want to talk about it on our Discord channel. I'll put a link to that in the top right hand corner as well. There's also the Facebook group, and both of these areas are completely saturated with conversations around solo board game. We'd love to have you there to join in those conversations. Without further ado, we're going to start at the very first round of play here with Jim Hopper. We're going to take a look at our hand of cards on either side. The win conditions for this one are simply to remove all of the tokens from the rescue will slots. There are 3 of them on the upside down portion of the game board. There are 2 major ways to lose a game of Stranger Things. The first way is if the act track marker is on the 3rd act and the action deck has been depleted and needs to be reshuffled. At that point, the players would lose the game. Now, just for your understanding, every time the action deck, which is a larger one in the top right, needs to be reshuffled, we're going to move the act track along the track. So once it moves off the track, essentially, as I mentioned, when it's in the 3rd act and we have to reshuffle again, that's the loss. Now, the other way we can lose the game is based on fear tracks, and each of the characters have one, and they vary in terms of how long they are. Jim Hopper, for instance, has a very long fear track, whereas Lucas Sinclair's track is much shorter. If at least one of these characters falls prey to being overwhelmed with fear, reaching their marker into the red box, that's going to result in a loss for everybody. Jim Hopper's going to start things off. We've revealed his 5 starting cards. He's got 2, 1, 1, 2, and 1. And as you can see, he starts up at the police station. We know this based on his player board here. It says starting location, police station. He has 1 movement on his turn. It also states if any other character in your location gains fear, you may take some or all of it. So he's really good at taking fear, hence the reason why his track is so long. We can have up to 2 items max. This is standard across all characters. And allies, you can have as many as you acquire. You'll see allies that you can potentially get off actions by being in certain locations. And the point of this game is to clear stacks. You'll see stacks all over the game board, and as you clear them, depending on whether you're trying to take an action to maybe bolster yourself or you're going right after those objectives to rescue Will, you're trying to clear the stack, and I'll show you how that works later on. But essentially, if I clear this stack, I recruit this ally, he comes in my hand, and I draw up a new one. Now, in terms of the cards I have in hand here, you'll notice icons on them. So you're going to see an icon at the top here. This is a friendly icon. What this means is if Jim's in the same space as Lucas, then this card goes from being 1 value to 2. So very strategic in when you want to use those. Now, this one at the bottom is a danger symbol. This ties to the Season 1 scene deck, which is way up here. Now, initially, we're in Act number 1. It tells us that every time we hit the scene portion, we're going to be drawing 1 card. But if we commit a card like this to the equation, we're now drawing 2 cards. So you're going to want to be really careful when you choose to actually use those danger icons, because if you use too many in one turn, you're going to be drawing a whole bunch of scene cards, which is going to completely impact the game in a bad way. A player's turn is comprised of 4 major parts: movement, performing an action, refilling your hand, and then revealing scene cards. Now, as you can see with Jim Hopper up here at the police station, we could, as an action, gather info or get an item. So the very first step is movement. I don't have to move, but on each of the dashboards for the heroes, it'll tell you how much movement they have. We know Jim automatically has 1 movement. Now, if I want to increase his movement so he can move along these paths to get to a location and maybe do a different action somewhere else or interact with something, I have to commit a card to increase his overall movement, unless I'm happy staying still or I just want to move 1 space because I've got that covered already. Now, I'm actually going to choose to have Jim stay still because he's at a very useful location. He's at the police station. He can gather info. And what that allows me to do is commit a number of cards, and the value that I commit of those cards allows me to look at the top token of stacks which are not revealed yet. Now, you can see in the regular world here, we have all the top tokens revealed, which gives you a little bit of an indication as to how much you need to commit from your card pool when trying to take out that particular stack and be successful. However, with the upside down portion of the game board, way down here, you'll notice they all have exclamation marks because they're all face down. What this gather information allows us to do is to flip up a number of stacks equal to the value of the cards that I commit. Now we know the objective of the game to win is to clear out all the slots for Rescue Will. So I would love to know what's on top of each of those. I'd actually even love to know what's down here, because if you clear these stacks, you get these one-time abilities. You have things like Friendship, reset 2 character fear tracks to the start. That can be huge to avoid losing. Discarding 2 Demogorgon stacks. This is massive. Now over here you have a Demogorgon area, and this has 4 slots in it. Now inside of these Rescue Will token stacks during setup, there were Demogorgon tokens that were placed in there at random. There's 5 of them, but I don't know which stacks they're inside of. Now each of those tokens, when they're revealed, is equal in value to whatever amount of stacks are in this area here. So it can go all the way up to 8. You could literally flip 1 token and the value could be 8. Now on a regular token, these red ones, the highest value is a 5 and the lowest value is a 0. So that gives you a good spread and understanding as to what could be in these token stacks. Now, the key here is if we can thin out the Demogorgon stacks in general, we can lower how much those Demogorgon tokens in these Rescue Will stacks are actually worth overall. So that's huge. This telekinesis one is massive. Now over here we have a blast that says we can remove 1 patrol from the game. Patrols are foes. These things are moving around the game board. We're going to have to fight them if they move into our space. If we start in a space with a foe like the Demogorgon or those particular patrols, we have the ability to leave the space if we start in it with a foe. But these things are going to also have ties to the scene deck, and the scene cards that come out can potentially tell us to have negative impacts based on these foes showing up in our space. So essentially removing one is huge and definitely beneficial. Now, one thing to mention about the Upside Down is that traversing from Hawkins and any points into the Upside Down, you can see those connection points, is fine. There's nothing on the roads telling you nothing bad happens, but once you're inside the Upside Down and you're traversing between points, you're going to be gaining fear quite often. So getting in there and moving around a lot, you're going to get really terrified really quick. So you got to be really precise with where you want to go and not upticking that too much. Now, something else worth mentioning is that you have a Help 11 slot up here as well, similar to what we talked about down below with the Help 11 that's in the Upside Down area. Here in Hawkins, you have 3 different abilities. This one says to remove 1 scene in the discard pile from the game completely. So as we reveal scene cards, there might be one that you find really nasty and you want to ditch for the rest of the game. Now, why would you want to do that? Because there's a card in this scene deck that ends the day, and it will reshuffle all the discarded cards back into the deck. So there might be a card you really don't want to see twice, 3 times, maybe multiple times. So you can get rid of it. This one here allows you to look at all the tokens from 1 Rescue Will stack. Very handy. So if you have a Rescue Will stack you really want to check out before you interact with it to see if you can try to pull out the necessary value to win, or know it exactly, of course, this is a very good ability. This one here, Levitation, is to reshuffle the top 10 cards of the action discard pile back into the deck. So there might be kind of a situation where you're happy with what's in the discarded pile and you kind of want to bring those cards back into the deck because you want to avoid other cards that you know are going to cause you problems. So it's a little bit of a mitigation strategy there. Now, in terms of options here, we have lots of places to gather items. You can gather items. It's in smaller non-bolded text here, but it's bold here. So basically here you can get an item. You have to commit cards from your hand. The value determines how many cards you can pull in order to pick 1 item. If you come here, you can get an item. You can add or can commit cards from your hand. So I could commit this, for instance, and that would allow me to draw 2 cards. But being here allows me to add 2 to it, so I could draw 4 cards and pick 1 item. So you can boost basically your chances of getting something really, really good. Then we have Investigate the Lab. This is a really important area because, as you're going to notice, as you clear them underneath, this is the only spaces that can do this. There's 3 of them. You can ignore one of the danger symbols. Now, there's a key rule around this that's easily missed. And that is that, as you can see up in the act track, there is a card icon symbol, meaning at the end of your turn, you're going to be drawing that X number of scene cards. There's nothing that can stop that from happening at all. But you will be playing cards during your turn, as I mentioned before, that will have a danger symbol on them. So how do you mitigate this from having you pull more scene cards at the end of your turn? You clear these laboratory slots, and for every one you've cleared, you can ignore one that comes from a card. This will allow you to commit cards from your hand without the worry of having increased scene cards coming at you at the end of your turn. It's very, very often that I've seen people think that this ignoring will actually ignore an an act pull, and that is not true whatsoever. It's been confirmed by the designers. You're still going to pull these cards as per whichever act you're in. It's going to increase every single act. You're going from 1 to 2 to 3. Now, in terms of mitigating the loss conditions we talked about, really, you want to be really careful with how often you're committing cards. The more you commit cards, the more you're replenishing your hand, which means the action deck in the top right-hand corner depletes really quickly. And then when it depletes and it needs to be reshuffled and brought back, the act track increases. So you really want to be careful off the hop, and sometimes you're going to want to go all in and commit lots of cards. There's nothing wrong with that, but just be aware you're burning through the action deck that much faster, and that can lead you to an end game much quicker. So you can go slow or you can go aggressive. It really depends on how lucky you are, how strategic you are, and also what things you're going after and how you've loaded up your characters and everything else. There's lots of options at your disposal. Now, something else to mention here is the calm down space. This also has to do with mitigating an end game you don't want to see, which is a loss. Calm down allows you to bring your fear into check. You can actually relieve fear, which is something you're going to want to do, bringing that track on the player dashboard a little bit further to the left. So that is a huge action when your fear starts to get out of control, and that typically is happening when you're running around in the upside down, or when scene cards are throwing things at you, or when you're failing particular checks against these piles. So if you fail a check, fear is involved. I'll show you how that works later on. So Jim's going to start things off. I'm going to commit 1 card, which is going to add to the movement I have, which is 2, allowing me to move from the police station to the scrapyard and then to the laboratory. Now, my mindset here is that if Lucas is already at the laboratory, by me moving here, that allows those cards that I have, which I only have 1 of, that have the friend icon, can be increased based on him being here. And he'll also be able to benefit Lucas if he tries to do something here. So let's try to mitigate some of those scene cards from coming out. Again, we cannot stop the act 1, but we can at least mitigate the spending and committing of cards that have the danger symbol and making our lives hell. So we're going to go ahead and take on a stack. Now, I'm looking at these stacks right now. Some of them are pretty nasty. Now, Hopper has 2 cards in hand and 2 1 cards. I'm thinking I might go for the 3 stack. I won't go for the easiest one. I'll go for the one that's kind of medium weight, but we have no idea what's underneath that. There's 1 other token. That's all we know. You can always take a look just to see. There's a 2 at the bottom that tells you how many tokens should be in there. And we're going to go ahead and try to commit. Now, the worst this could be with a 5 would be 8. So 8 is a lot to commit. I don't think it's going to be a 5. At least I hope not anyway. We're going to go ahead and commit a 2, another 2, and you can see how scary this is because by committing the 2s, I have to put these danger symbols in. That's really bad. I'm definitely committing the 1 to boost me another 2 thanks to Lucas being there. So that's 6, and I'm feeling pretty confident at 6. I think I'll stop right there, and let's see how we do. So we're going to take this 1 and say 3. Is it? Yes, it's a 1. I actually overcommitted, but that's okay. That's a success. Now, how it works is if you fail, let's say hypothetically this was a 5, so this would be 8, and I committed 6, then you take the difference in fear. So Hopper would be going up 2 fear. The next thing that would happen is you'd flip these tokens face down, and then you'd shuffle them enough that you don't know which one's which, and do this blindly maybe, and then you take 1 out, put it back into the pool off to the side of the game board, and the other one would go back in the slot face down. So in other words, you're not going to know what it is. You'll know it's one of the 2, and of course it's a lot tougher when you have higher stacks in play. You will not know which one's being pulled out. It could be the 0 that got pulled out. It could be the 5 that got pulled out. You just don't know, but the deck, at least it's progressing you. You are thinning it even when you fail. You just don't know how you're doing it. Now, I'm very happy with this because this is going to allow me to ignore 1 of the danger symbols on the 2 danger symbol cards I just committed to clear that off. So that's going to help me. So just to recap what we've done with Jim so far, we moved, and the moving is optional. You don't have to, but I did. I moved from the police station to the laboratory. Then I do an action. I chose to investigate the lab. I had the option also to get an item there if I wanted to as an action, but I decided to investigate the lab. Now, that particular one is considered a contested action, and a contested action is where you have to beat the stack, and if you don't beat the stack, the difference is going to give you fear. So there's a lot of those contested actions all over the place, but there are uncontested actions like gathering info, gaining an item or getting an item, or calming down. Those are things where you don't have to beat a stack, you just simply do it. You can tell because there's no stack next to anything that references the action itself, for example. So with movement and my action out of the way, we're now going to go ahead and replenish our hand back up to 5 cards. We have 1 card I didn't use, so we need to draw up 4. Now we're going to go ahead and resolve scene cards. We know we're pulling 1 for the act. We're also pulling 2 more for the danger symbols that were committed, but we get to remove 1 of the card-based danger symbols because we were able to clear one of the laboratory slots. So we're only drawing 2 scene cards. Let's go ahead with the very first one and resolve it. We got Federal Patrols. Move each patrol 1 location towards you, then each character discards 1 action card for each patrol in their location. Well, that's really unfortunate. We're moving every single patrol 1 location towards Hopper. Well, Hopper's in the same space as Lucas, and both patrols are 1 space away. So guess what's happening? Apparently we were really noisy when we investigated the lab. This is really nasty for both of our characters because we're going to lose 2 cards from each of our heroes, unfortunately, because both patrols are in the same spot with both of our characters. So we have to lose 2 cards from here, and also I no longer need these. I only left them here for reference as to how many danger icons were here. We know we're pulling 2 scene cards. We got 1 more scene card coming after this. Hopper's all taken care of. Really glad I was able to get rid of some cards with danger icons on them because I have the ability to hopefully use the friend icon if we stay in the same place, but we have lots of friends in there right now. Now Lucas hasn't even had a turn yet and the patrols are already stealing cards out of his hands. Let's go ahead and see what we've got in here. Maybe we can get rid of some stuff easily. Wow, that is a lot of 1s. Well, if we're going to get rid of anything, we might as well get rid of 2 of the regular 1s. Still not out of the woods yet. We got Blood in the Water. Second scene card says move the Demogorgon to your location, then each character in your location gains 1 fear. This could not have started out any worse. I've gone ahead and updated Hopper's fear track by 1, as well as Lucas's fear track. Let's move the Demogorgon to where it's supposed to be. I gotta say, this is a pretty thematic start to the game. I mean, we went to the lab, we tried to investigate, we were successful, apparently made so much noise, we brought all the patrols and the Demogorgon to 1 space. At this point, it is a full-blown party at the laboratory. Now Lucas begins his turn and he has a choice to make. First off, if I want to stay in this location, I'm going to have to fight. And I can choose which foe to fight, but I have to. If I move out, I can move out. At the beginning of your turn, if there's foes in your space, you are able to move out. So I could just simply run away, which is probably what I need to do in this situation. So I've had Lucas run up to the house in the top right-hand corner for 2. He's got 1 movement by default. I added 1 and committed it to give me the 2 necessary to get up there. At this point, we could try and recruit an ally or get an item, but you can see here I'm pretty dang low on the value of my cards. I don't have an ally in my space, so these are not worth 2 apiece. They're only worth the middle value, which is 1. So what I might want to do is focus on getting an item instead. Now, again, if I commit 1 card, this allows me to draw 1 item and then take that item, or I could commit both. This is the fun thing. And again, I'm not trying to burn cards. These are really good cards. So maybe I'll just do get an item and we'll take whatever's on the very top of the item deck. Let's see what we get. We got ourselves a camera. This is a +3 to investigate the lab. Well, isn't that perfect, seeing as the lab is surrounded by enemies? So this second item goes into the slot. You'll see at max I can have 2 items. Now Lucas is special. He's the only character that actually starts with a random item, which is why I have gasoline in the first place. So I've got 2 slots filled with items. If I want more items, I can go get them, but I have to discard something in order to make space. Now in terms of allies, as I mentioned before, you can have as many as you want, which is something I want to go after now that I'm at the house, and that's where Jonathan is currently sitting, and I would really like to get him. So finishing off my action, we're replenishing our hand, drew up 4 more cards, and got a whole bunch of 2s, which will be handy later on. The committed cards here don't have any danger icons. I'm going to go ahead and put these in the discard pile. We're just drawing 1 scene card for Act 1. The patrols are absolutely vicious this game. It says, search party, choose 1 patrol to move 2 locations towards you. Then each character discards 1 action card for each patrol in their location. I gotta tell you, at this point, I'm starting to think the game has a mind of its own. It knows exactly where everybody is at all times. These patrols are not leaving us alone. So I moved the 1 patrol that I chose, which didn't matter because both were in the same space, 2 spaces that goes into the same space as Lucas, and then it states each character discards 1 action card for each patrol in their location. So even though the beginning of the card talked about this patrol specifically, now the second portion is saying every character in a space with a patrol, which is both characters in this case, are both losing a card. Lucas decided to get rid of one of the danger symbol icons in his deck because, well, we've been getting enough cards off that scene deck that are hurting us. It's of 2, which also has a friend icon, which hurts my soul, but I'm getting rid of it. And then we're getting rid of one of these for Jim because I got a funny feeling we're not going to be teaming up for anything, at least until we can deal with some of these foes and get them moving around the game board. Well, that was pretty aggressive off the hop, and Jim Hopper actually only has 2 cards going into his next turn, so that was pretty bad. Jim begins his turn in a space with foes. He doesn't have to stay stay there, and he certainly doesn't want to. I could try to fight them, but I have such a weak hand right now. I am running away. So we're going to commit 1 card here to add 2 to my movement of 1. That's 3. I only need 2 to get to the police station. That's where I want to go. Now back at the police station, I'm going to go ahead and commit another card here in order to gather info for a total of 3. So I can pick any stacks that have face down tokens and reveal the top token of that stack. So I'm going to do it in the upside down for the 3 rescue will spots. Let's go ahead and see what we find. We got ourselves a 4 on this stack. We have a 0 on that stack. That's good to see. And then on the last stack, ooh, the Demogorgon token. So we know that the value of that token based on this Demogorgon area here is per stack. So that is a total value of 4 currently. If we can fight the Demogorgon, when I actually feel confident enough to do so, because I didn't have a hand of cards that would be great for fighting this turn, we can actually remove stacks by fighting the Demogorgon and make that Demogorgon token value decrease. And knowing that there's 5 of them buried in these 3 stacks, it's a good thing to do. Jim now moves on to replenishing his hand. He gets a full 5 because he has no more cards in hand. He committed these 2. Neither of them have a danger icon on them, so no issues there. Even if they did, we have the ignore one still out in place. That would help. But we still have the act one we have to draw, so let's draw a scene card and see what we get for Jim. More patrols? I'm going to say this right now. I have played this game off camera. I have never seen the cards come out the way they're coming out right now in any of my prior plays. It's actually pretty exciting and pretty wild thematically. It's like we did something extremely wrong in the laboratory, and these patrols will not let us leave unscathed. So this patrol is following me. It moves 2 spaces to get to Hopper, which it absolutely can do. So it has done that. Then each character is going to discard 1 card because we both have a patrol in our location. We're right back at it all over again. Now, in terms of which one I'm going to discard, I'm definitely going to get rid of the one here with the danger icon. This has been pretty brutal so far. And for Lucas, we'll try a different strategy. We'll keep the one that has danger here. We're going to get rid of this one. I don't think we'll be teaming up with Hopper anytime soon, at the moment anyway. Lucas now begins his turn, and he can move first if he wishes. If I don't, I have to deal with the foe there, so I'm probably going to run away. But if I wanted to deal with the foe, you'll see a patrol area here. This token stack has 4 tokens in it, so at worst, this could be 15, which would be 3 5s underneath a 0, but it could be anything less than that. For cards right now, I don't really have a ton. Of course, it's probably not anywhere near 15, and I don't know if it's really worth going ahead and taking down a patrol. When you do so, you essentially just move the patrol to where you want it to go. You can move it anywhere on the game board, which is actually quite nice. And then the stack for the patrol space just gets replenished by the pool of tokens out of play, and you continue on. So really the only way to mitigate these patrols from being painful would be to actually go to the upside down area, as there is a blast here that can remove a patrol from the game. And I am very tempted to do this, although we've burnt probably a good chunk of the patrol-based cards already, but I'm sure there's more in there. Now, Lucas is really tempted to go back to the laboratory here, because if I do, I have that camera now, and that can really help me in order to get rid of one of these investigative stacks, but I'd have to deal with the Demogorgon. If I move in that space, I'd fight it. Now, if you fight the Demogorgon, you're going up against the 4 token stacks. You pick one of them, and then you commit some cards to see whether you can pull it off. I do have gasoline to add to the fight, which is nice, but if I commit a card for movement just to get there, I don't have much after that, and I feel like the stacks are going to be against me. It's not very good odds that I'll win. If I do win, unlike the patrols where when you beat them, you can move them anywhere on the game map, the Demogorgon can only be moved to 1 adjacent spot. So you're moving it, it's not really far away, and it probably will come back very, very soon, but at least it gets it out of a space. I think if I can get through a round without losing cards, I'll go back to the laboratory on the next round. This round, let's do something different. I've gone ahead and committed a 2 to my movement of 1 that I already have, so 3 to move from the patrol, 1, 2, 3 to the school. We're going to try to recruit the ally here, Benny. Now, this certainly is a gamble. I'm committing 2 cards that are worth 2 each, which is not very high value. We already know the top one is a 2, but the bottom one could be a 5, 4, or 3. In any of those situations, we're not in good shape. A 2, 1, or a 0 is what we want to see. This is a big gamble. Let's see if it pays off. Not really a huge gamble, but it's still a gamble. We got ourselves a 1, so we're good. We actually had enough to take Benny, which we'll do right now. Immediately after taking an ally, you're going to go ahead and replenish it if there's any allies left. So we're going to place an ally in here. Top right-hand corner tells you how many tokens from the pool of tokens you have that are face down you'll be placing in this slot. Worth noting, the ones I just revealed go into the pool and get shuffled in. And then we're going to go ahead and build a stack of 3, and we're going to place them face down. The top one does not go face up when you're replenishing this. So we've got our 3 in there. Now we move to replenishing Lucas's hand. We got 5 new cards coming in. He committed all his cards. He had one with a danger symbol, but we can ignore it because we have a space up here at the laboratory resolve that ignores that icon. And then we draw from the act track, which we have 1 card, and it is Through the Walls. Each character in a location without another character gains 2 fear. So both my characters being completely alone both gain 2 fear, which is not good. So Jim's on his way, but he's got a much longer track, whereas Lucas is almost halfway up his fear track. Not good. If one of them hits that end X, that is going to be a loss. So we got to keep an eye on that for Lucas. He is getting up there on the fear side of the equation. There is the ability to calm down right here, which is probably something you need to focus on. But now Lucas is unfortunately on the other side of the game board. It'll take him a lot longer to get back there. Now his Benny ally he picked up, I'll read this to you. It says, at the start of your turn, you may remove Benny from the game to activate any unused 11 power. So any unused. So any power that's on the board, there's 6 of them, sorry. There's 3 along the bottom here in the upside down and 3 in Hawkins. If any of them are unused, in other words, they have tokens in the stack still in the slot, then we can actually just go ahead and use that power by getting rid of Benny. So that's a very powerful one to have. For Hopper's turn, I'm going to go ahead and just move 1 space to the Wheeler house. Jim's action is next. He could get an item if he wanted to, but I'd rather help 11 in this case. This one really is the one I'm looking at. It says, look at all tokens from 1 rescue will stack. That sounds really good. Now, each of these has only 2 tokens in the stack in order to complete it. This one's a 4, which is quite high value. I don't know what's in the bottom. At worst, it's a 5, so 9. How many cards or how much value do I commit here is really the question. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 3. Well, you know what? I might keep the 3. I might commit 6 and hope that that's enough. It's getting a little bit sketchy. I'm also kind of tempted to do this. Actually, let's do this. Let's bump up our odds so that we're actually as successful as possible. I'll keep one of the 2s back. So that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So as long as we see a 3 or less, we are golden. Let's see what we get. Oh, it ended up being a 4. So as we failed this, and it is considered a contested action, we missed it by 1. So Jim is going to go up the fear track by 1, which is unfortunate. Now, the other thing to mention is both the tokens that we saw were 4s. So normally, when they're different numbers, you would flip them down and you'd shuffle them around, get rid of one at random and put it in here, and the other one would sit here. But we know they're both 4, so it's 4. So we're just flipping one over and putting it in the space for now. That's it. At least we know what we need to do in order to complete this. We just need to commit 4 next time. We can pull it off. This card here has not been used. I turned that sideways and I don't know why. This one is still in my hand, but that was my action. I committed all of these. So we're going to go ahead and replenish our hand. We're drawing up 4 cards. And now we're going to reveal scenes. We have nothing from the committed cards that's going to add to anything regarding the scenes, so we can go ahead and discard those. But we do have 1 scene card coming from act number 1. Let's go ahead and find out what it is. It is Papa. It says, discard all tokens from any unused 11 power without activating it. If all powers were already used, each character gains 1 fear instead. Now, I really like the 11 powers that are in the upside down area. Up here in Hawkins, there's 2 of them that I'm kind of so-so on. It's the one at the top here and the one at the bottom. Now, out of the 2, I think I'll get rid of this one here. This one's nice and easy to do because it has a 0. So let's go ahead and remove this. So we're going to discard these tokens. These will end up going back into the pool and we'll have to shuffle them around. We don't activate it whatsoever. Lucas starts his turn. The very first thing I'm going to do is discard this. It says you may remove Benny from the game to activate any unused 11 power. Well, I haven't used telekinesis, which allows me to discard 2 Demogorgon stacks. So 2 of the stacks are going to be removed and Benny is gone. So what's awesome about this is it's really helping us overcome the main objective slots we're going to have to clear by making the Demogorgon token, instead of being value 4, removing 2 stacks. And I'm going to do this blindly because I don't know what's on top of them. I guess I could have done a gather info first before I did this, but we're going to go blind and just take 2 of them out. But now they are valued, these tokens, at 2, which is much lower, and that's going to affect 5 tokens across these 3 piles, which makes everything just a bit easier for us. Now, Lucas can move if he wants. He doesn't want to because an ally showed up in his space that actually is really useful for him. This says, Steve can ignore the first fear you gain any turn. That's awesome. So we're going to go ahead and try and take this. Now, we have no idea what's in here. There's 3 total tokens. So we're probably going to have to commit a decent amount to feel relatively safe here. So I'm going to go ahead, and I really want this, and I also don't want to gain fear from failing this, as it's a contested action on top of it. So it's like a double whammy. But
we're going to go like this. We're going to go a little bit crazy. I'm kind of committing more than I might do otherwise, but I don't know what's in that stack. So we're going to do 2, 2, 2 with 1 danger symbol because we know we can mitigate it from the lab, and another 1. I do have another 2 danger, but I'm not going to add another scene card into my pull at the end just for that. So that's a total of 7. I really wish Hopper was down here because that would be a total of 10 if he was. Let's go ahead and see how we do. Off the top of the stack, the very first token is a 2. That's good. The next token off top stack is a 1. That's great. And the next one is a 3. We are golden. We succeeded and we recruited Steve. Lucas finished his action. We replaced with another ally. We got Barb. If you would become terrified, remove Barb from the game and reset your fear track to the start instead. Oh my gosh, we're getting such great ally cards here. It's hard to leave this space. So Steve is going to come in really handy as a passive ability to ignore the first fear you gain every turn, but that next ally that came up in this stack really can save me. If Lucas gets all the way to the end, I can reset things and save myself. Now I've gone ahead and replenished his hand up. As you can see here, it's very high value, which is nice. We do have this committed and we have 1 danger symbol. Will we mitigate that from the lab? So only 1 scene card coming into play. Let's go ahead and draw it and see what we get. We got ourselves security. And this card states you create a stack of 2 tokens in an empty Hawkins Laboratory slot. If all 3 slots are filled, each character gains a fear instead. Well, unfortunately, we just lost our benefit of this. We're grabbing 2 tokens from the pool. They're going to be face down and they go in the slot. We have now lost the ability to mitigate one of the danger icons coming from cards. We need to get back to that laboratory and we're probably going to have to fight that Demogorgon. Jim's turn has come around and he's got these cards to work with, which are actually really good. There's not a single danger symbol on any of those. Now I'm really tempted to run down here and check out the school and try to rescue Will, but this is a large stack and with the 4 on top, it's a little bit scary. Now I did mitigate things a little bit with the Demogorgon stacks being down to 2, so if we get any of those in this pile, it'll be less than what I'm expecting, but there could be an average, let's say 3 for each one of these other tokens. So I mean, it could be pretty substantial, and I don't know if I have enough to move down there and deal with it all with the cards I have, but I could go ahead and just meet the 4 that I have, seeing as I'm already here, in order to try to pull that off. I could also change things up. Well, I guess I got the patrol here, which I'd have to stop and then fight if I move into it. I could go the long way around over to the laboratory. Then I have to deal with the Demogorgon if I do that. I do want to get there at some point in time and clear out one of those, but maybe I'll leave that for Lucas. So let's just stay here then, and we'll go ahead and deal with this because I only have to commit 2 cards, and I can keep some of my bigger ones and hope for good stuff later on. So that's 4. I know that this is going to be okay. We matched it. We're good. I'm going to put this into the pile and stir it around a little bit. I'll do a better job of that in a moment after I bash things around a little bit. And we've cleared that up, so now we can look at all tokens from 1 Rescue Will stack. So let's look at this one. We've got a 3. We've got a 4. And we've got a 1. All right, so that's 8 right there, 4 on top, that's 12. So we know exactly what we need in order to succeed at that one. I've gone ahead and mixed up the tokens really good, so I have no idea where things are. We're going to go ahead and drop to 5. So I've drawn up cards. I end up getting 2 more 2s, which is nice. So I got a decent hand here for later on. And at this point, I didn't commit any danger symbols from the cards I used, but Act 1 has a card coming off the top. So this scene card is going to be Connie. It says reveal and remove the top card of the ally deck from the game. If there's no allies left in the game, gain 2 fear instead. The ally which we will not be seeing in this game is Scott Clark. It says at the start of your turn, each character may reveal 1 token from either a stack or from a foe in their location. That'll do it for Jim. Let's head over to Lucas and see what he can accomplish. I've got some pretty tough decisions here with Lucas. There's lots of ways I could go here. I could potentially head down this direction and go after this stack, although knowing that it's 12, I don't have enough value over here in the cards to make this happen, but I could also come down, head over, and start going after one of these, which would be nice. I could also head up to the scrapyard. The scrapyard allows me to calm down +2, which would be beneficial for getting my fear down. That'd be huge. And then the other one, actually, that might be the right thing to do. The other way is to go all the way through all of that down to the laboratory and then try to fight the Demogorgon. But again, if that goes south, that can increase my fear. So a bit tough here. What I think probably going to calm down might actually be the safest and probably the smartest thing to do. So we make it to the scrapyard, and in order to get the +2 on the calm down, we got to commit at least 1 card. So we're going to commit this card here for 2, plus the 2 that's there is 4. That is going to be more than enough to bring my fear all the way back down to the bottom. I've gone ahead and replenished my hand as well. You'll see for committed cards, no danger icons, so it's just the one coming from Act 1. Let's see what our scene card is. It's Toxic. The card states each character in the Upside Down, and we don't have any characters in the Upside Down, so thank goodness for that, must remove one of their items from the game or gain 2 fear. So we actually get a pass on this one. Hopper's going to start his turn. He's going to move 1 space down to the school, and he's going to go after an item. I'm committing a 2, so we're drawing 2 item cards off the top. We got ourselves a baseball bat. That sounds awesome. And, ooh, a bear trap. It's not every day you find a bear trap at a school, but today we did, and it was the best of the 2, so I took it. We also have a lot of cards still in hand, but we're done for now. We're just going to drop 1 card, and then we're going to go ahead and take 1 scene card. So let's go ahead and find out what that scene card is going to be. It is going to be, the Demogorgon Strikes. It states to move the Demogorgon to your location, then any one character in your location gains a fear. If you're in the Upside Down, the character gains fear equal to the number of Demogorgon stacks instead. Well, it looks like Jim Hopper's going to go up 1 more spot on the fear track, so I've moved him up there. He now is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions up on the track. So we're about almost halfway with him. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. But the laboratory is now wide open, and this is really good news for Lucas. Now, I know you guys can't see the action deck very well, but I'd say there's roughly around 5, 6 cards or so left in that action deck. I haven't counted them specifically, but it's very low. And when that needs to be reshuffled, we're going to be going to Act 2, which means more scene cards more often. That's bad. On top of that, we've got a lot of danger icons in hand here for Lucas. I really need to work on getting to the lab. So thankfully we can move there for free with our 1 action. We get there, we have nobody else to deal with, which is awesome. And I'm going to go ahead right now knowing that I have the camera, which gives me a +3 to investigate, means I don't have to commit as many cards when trying to accomplish this. So we're going to go ahead with the one we can see here to try and get a successful one, the one with 2. We know we've got that cover with the camera plus the 1. So to mitigate this and almost guarantee that we do it, we just will commit 2 other cards. Now, I really don't want to commit any of these danger icons yet because I want to avoid this for now. Although, if I'm successful, then it won't trigger. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do 1. This is going to be 4. Let's see what happens. So we'll take a look at this. And it's a 2, so we're okay. We didn't even need the camera. We had enough anyway, so we succeeded this. And now when we go into replenishing our hand, which is going to happen right now, so we're going to go ahead and draw 2 cards up, which is going to bring more danger icons into a future hand for us. Yikes, but we got really high-powered cards here. This is really good. But now when we go ahead to resolve things, this icon won't affect us because we just cleared that at the laboratory. We still draw the 1 scene card, though. The card we got is called End of the Day. Reshuffle the scenes deck and move the Demogorgon to any location in the Upside Down. Don't draw any more scenes this turn. So I chose to go ahead and put the Demogorgon here because I'm going to be working more so on the left-hand side of the Upside Down is my plan. We've shuffled up the scene deck. We had no more scene cards to pull, but if we did, we would have pulled them anyway, as it stated on the card, not to pull any more beyond that 1. So that is going to be it, and we're now moving over to Jim. Now this is a bit painful because as we go to Jim's turn, I'm really gunning to get in here and to defeat this stack of 12. I know it's a value 12, but the problem is I have 3, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have no way of getting it up to 12 right now. And so I don't want to run in there just yet when I don't have enough and I know I'll fail. So what I'll do is I'll stick it out where I currently am and instead potentially go after an item. So I'm not losing that many cards. I'll just go ahead and draw 1 card off the top and we'll see if we can get up to our 2 item max to get Jim prepared for the future. But I'm really hoping that this will be open and available for me to go down without any patrols or Demogorgons showing up now that things have cleared. Now this item I like. This is First Aid Kit +4 to calm down. So when we do a calm down action, I can use this in order to increase how much I'm calming down. That is massive. And we've replenished our hand. We got ourselves a 2. So now I have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have enough to be able to walk down there next turn and defeat this stack so long as nothing else bad happens in this area or affects me. So that is good news. We only committed 1 card this time around. It didn't have a danger symbol icon on it, so we're still just drawing 1 scene card. Let's see what we get. We got Connie. This is one we've had before, but again, remember the deck shuffled, so it's coming back through. Reveal and remove the top card of the ally deck. Another ally has been taken down. We're losing allies left, right, and center. Which one is disappearing? It's Officer Callahan. At the start of your turn, you may discard one token from the bottom of any Hawkins Laboratory stack, even if it's the last one. That would have been a nice one to have, but it's gone forever. All right, we're going to keep on going here with Lucas. Lucas is at the laboratory. He's got his camera, so we're absolutely going to investigate the lab. We have 3 guaranteed right here. We'll commit another 3 and another 3 on top of that. And we're going to see what we run into. So that's a total of 9. We should be A-okay for this stack right here, knowing that 5 is the best it could possibly be. And it's not anyway. We are safe. So we have now removed 2, and we now get to ignore 2 of the danger symbols on our cards as we play them. This is really going to help us. We can start using these cards a little more often. Lucas has refilled his hand back up to 5. We got all kinds of danger icons in those future cards to use. We used 2, and neither of them had danger icons, so nothing to worry about regardless. Anyway, we do have to pull 1 scene card for Act 1, though. Let's see what it is. It is Search Party. No, these are coming back through again. This one says, choose 1 patrol to move 2 locations toward you. Then each character discards 1 action card for each patrol in their location. So the question is, which patrol do I want to move? Well, I'm thinking I want to free up the recruit ally spot in the top right, so let's move that one down. And we'll go ahead and discard this card here from hand. It has the lowest value on it currently, but unfortunately the rest of the 4 that I have for Lucas in a future turn are going to all have danger icons on it, which is pretty bad. And now it's time for Hopper to shine. His moment is here. We know this stack is valued at 12. And what's even more awesome is the fact that, look, I've got danger icons in here. If I use 3 for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I'll be committing 2 danger icons in. But thank you to Lucas, we were able to ignore them. So this is a perfect time for everything to work out. It all lined up nicely. So Hopper's running on down here with his 1 movement. He'll commit all these cards. And we've already looked at this stack in the past thanks to a previous ability, so we know we've got what we need to pass this one. We've got our first save, or I should say rescue will slot done. Now, something else worth mentioning is the fact that that stack had absolutely no Demogorgon tokens in it, so that means all of them are in the last 2 stacks. We know one of them's there because it's face up, but there's 4 others hiding, so the lower we can get this area down in terms of the total number of stacks, the easier it will be to clear those other stacks. Now, there's something else worth mentioning, and that is when you set the game up, those 5 Demogorgon tokens are always going to be in the rescue will spots only, but once you've cleared a stack, if there happened to have been a Demogorgon token in that stack, that would then return to the pool, and at that point, it could potentially come back out on the game board in a different location, so that is something to be aware of. Something else to be aware of is while trying to replenish 5 cards for Jim's turn, unfortunately, the action deck has depleted, and so at this point, we reshuffle all the discarded action cards that are beside it into and making a new action deck, and the act track is going to increase. The action deck in the top right has been replenished. We got our 5 cards fully out of it, and we're going to increase the act track to 2, which means we're guaranteed pulling 2 scene cards at the end of every turn. For Lucas's turn, I'm quite torn here. I mean, I really want to get into this location, which I could move into at the beginning of my turn for full of my space. I can move out, so I can move here for free because I have the 1 movement, and then I could potentially go after discarding 2 Demogorgon stacks, but I need to get through the 3 tokens that are here, and I have no idea what they could be, but at max they're 15. I don't really have that kind of firepower over here with my cards, so it'd be a little risky to be committing a lot of these danger symbols. I could commit 2 maybe, but other than that, I'd be pushing things beyond the amount of scene cards I want to draw at the end. It's already going to be 2 by default. Another one like that would make it 3, and then another one like this would be 4, and that's a lot. That would really start making things tough. So maybe a slow move and maybe just kind of holding things together might be the right approach, but having all these danger icons is absolutely terrible. It's really, really tough, to be honest. A part of me wants to gamble it and maybe head down here and see if we get lucky, because let's say hypothetically out of these tokens here, there's 1 or 2 of them that are Demogorgon tokens. I mean, this stack might only be like somewhere between 5 and 6 maybe, if we've got like 2, 2, 0, and then hopefully like a 3 on average. So like it wouldn't be all that much. Like I might have even be able to pull it off right now. So it's half drawing me to try it. But the risk, if I fail it, I'm going to take a lot of fear, and I'm also going to be taking a whole bunch of scene. But I might do it. I might actually risk it. I'm feeling a little bit crazy. So let's go ahead and do it. Now, if I do it, I need to generate another movement beyond what I have here. So I'd have to commit one of these, and I'd only have 6 going in. And man, is 6 not exactly the best. Now, I do have the ability to ignore a fear, so that could help if I fail this. And I can block these 2 with the 2 ignores here, so I'd only have to draw 1 plus 2, so 3 scene cards. That's crazy. But I do need to get, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's be a little bit crazy. Let's go for it. I'm humming and hawing this, but I don't know if it's the right move. Let's try it. So we're committing that to get ourselves down there. So we get essentially a 3 movement, but only needed 2. And then we're going to commit all 3 of these, which is insane. This is the most insane thing I've ever done, I think, in this game. And we're going to go ahead and start flipping these and hope that we see another 0 in here. So first one off the top is, there we go. That's a 2. That's okay. That's safe. That's manageable. Next one, a 2. Okay, all right. So here we go. We got 6 right here, and we have a total of 4 right here. So this needs to be a 2 or lower. So if I see a Demogorgon token, that's fine too. Let's see. Yes, that is a success. Now that was extremely satisfying. I really didn't think that last one was going to be my favorite. In my mind, I saw a 4 or 5 coming, or a 3, but we got it. We're safe. We've taken out 2 of the stacks. Now, what we're not safe around is the fact we're going to have to take all kinds of scene cards right now. So first, we're going to replenish up by 5 cards, and then these 2 will be blocked by what we have at the laboratory currently. We're going to get 2 cards from these ones and 2 for Act 2. So we're drawing 4 scene cards back to back to back. This is going to be painful. So we got our hand of 5. We ended up getting some cards that actually don't have the symbol on it, the danger symbol, which is great. We'll take these ones out of the equation. They're being discarded, but we are drawing 4 scene cards at this point. I'm a little scared. Let's see how this goes. First one off the top of the deck is Search Party. These guys. Now looking at the game board, this actually isn't a bad one to get because I can choose any patrol I want to move 2 locations toward me. So I could literally have this one moving towards me, but I have to take the shortest route to myself. So if we go the long way here, 1 or 1, 2, 3, 4, or the shorter route I would think is 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, regardless, we're not making it to my character. So the question is which one's shorter, but they all seem to be about 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's either going to go 1, 2, and end up here at the laboratory, which actually isn't bad because I don't plan on going back there at this point. That actually might be the right call versus bringing it around this way. So let's bring this one down to here. So we got 2 patrols at that location. Then each character discards 1 action card for each patrol in the location. Nobody's there. So this is a really good card to get because it didn't actually hurt me. However, thanks to my ally Steve, I ignore the first fear I gained during my turn. So this is going to go back to 1. That's great. So that actually wasn't bad for 4 of those cards coming through. Now what's really inconvenient is if these patrols hadn't landed at the laboratory, I could have had Hopper just run straight through over to this location to try to do an attempt on rescuing Will over there. But now that they're there, if I move there, I'm going to have to fight one of the foes there, which is not exactly something I want to do. I could go up and around, but it's a lot longer of a jaunt to go all the way around. You have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movement. Like that's a lot of movement to commit just to get over there. But I mean, it might be the right thing to do. It might be the right thing to do. It's tough to say though, but that might be it because we're kind of pushing really heavy while we have a low token stack over here. And we know that this is, well, it's just overall, we're doing pretty good. There are cards in this scene deck that could come out that could add stacks to this. So far we've been good. What we seem to be getting a lot of, and I promise you, I've been shuffling this deck like crazy, even Old Man shuffling it 1 card at a time and Riffle shuffling everything. We seem to be getting a lot of patrols, and that's not always common. But the patrols have been on us from the very beginning. We've been getting those types of cards more so than other cards. But we burnt through a lot of them already, so I won't be surprised if more fun is on the way. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a gigantic move to get Hopper to the opposite side of the game board. We're going to make a really big push here. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for movement, which will get me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I don't gain any fear from that movement because there's no fear along the path that I'm taking all the way over here. Next up, we perform an action if we want to. I don't want to. I'm not suited for it as I've just burned so many cards moving. I don't have to worry about this icon because we can ignore it up here. We have to draw back up to a hand of 5, so go ahead and do that. With our hand now replenished, and I know it's just a bit off screen, I've got a 1 with the friend symbol on it, 3, a 2, and a 2. So not bad overall in terms of the cards that I have. Now let's draw our 2 scene cards, thanks to being in act number 2. We got, oh my gosh, patrols. Move each patrol 1 location towards you, then each character discards 1 action card for each patrol in their location. At this point, I am fully convinced the game knows exactly what I'm trying to accomplish and is trying to do everything it can to get in the way, and it's doing so really well. Both these patrols are heading towards Jim Hopper. And poor Jim's going to have to ditch 2 cards, so I'm going to ditch the 2 cards that are 1 values, although I do have one with a friend icon, but they're going to be gone. The next card is called Blood in the Water. We move the Demogorgon to your location, then each character in your location gains a fear, so Hopper's going up on the fear track, and every foe in the game is in the location I need to rescue Will. That is pretty wild, and if I had known this kind of thing would have happened, I would have sent Jim far, far away into Hawkins and left everybody out there. Maybe that was a better strategy than bringing them all here, but I had no idea all these cards were going to trigger perfectly to get them all into this space. Pretty insane. Well, Lucas, I know there's one thing that you can do to help out with this situation and get some of these patrols out of here. We can move up to here, and we're going to go ahead and try to defeat this stack right here. I'm going to commit quite a few cards to make this happen, so we'll take the 3. We're going to go ahead and take this 3, and we're going to commit, you know what? I might commit everything, to be honest, just to make sure it happens. We got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's go ahead and see whether we're able to do it. We got 3, 4, that's 7, and 3. Wow, we did exactly what we needed to in order to remove a patrol from the game, so we can take one out of here. That makes our life a little bit easier. So we've replenished Lucas's hand back up to 5, and we've got some good cards. The cards that were played and committed are now discarded. There was no danger icons on them, although we still have these here anyway, so no big deal. But we're drawing 2 cards for the act. We're in Act 2. Let's see what the top one off the top of the deck is. Oh my gosh, security. Create a stack of 2 in an empty Hawkins Laboratory slot. If all the slots are full, then you take fear instead. So we're taking 2 tokens and placing them in there. So now we only have the ability to cancel out 1 of the danger icons on committed cards. You have got to be kidding me. We got another security card. So that is going to block up the entirety of the laboratory on us. We have no ability to get any kind of benefits off removing those danger tokens on our cards now. So yikes. Jim's turn begins. He's in a space with a Demogorgon and also a patrol. So if I choose to stay there and I don't move out right now, I have to fight one of the 2. I get to pick which one I want. Now, the patrol has a token face up at 0, so I know that one's going to be a little easier. At least I think so. But the Demogorgon has 2 token stacks, and I don't know which one to go after. There could be 4s and 5s in there. I don't have a ton of value here, but I do have a fight bear trap, which gives me 3. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pretty solid for the most part. So I feel like I might be able to take out the patrol and get it out of there. Now, if I defeat the patrol, I can put it anywhere on the game board. If I defeat the Demogorgon, I can only move it 1 space. So let's do the Demogorgon last, fight the patrol first. So we're going to commit all these cards into the equation for the fight, and we're just going to see what happens because I'm going into this one blind and hoping that I'm going to pull this off. So the patrol stack starts with a 0. That's nice. Next up, it's a 2. That's good to see. Next up, it's a 3, so that's a total of 5. We again have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They've got 5 so far. It's a 3. So we did defeat the patrol. We don't take any fear, of course, when you succeed. We can move the patrol anywhere on the game board. I'm going to put it as far away as possible. So I sent the patrol to the opposite side of the game board. We're going to replenish 5 cards for Jim, and I didn't commit any kind of danger icon, so I have no worries there, but I'm drawing 2 up for Act 2. And that is a great hand of cards. Let's go ahead and see how the scene cards happen. We got Toxic. Each character in the upside down must remove 1 of their items from the game or gain 2 fear. I'm going to we're near the end and fighting's important, so I think the first aid kit is going to go in this case. And over here for Lucas, seeing as he's in the upside down as well, the toxic affecting him. He doesn't want to take fear, I don't think. So we'll probably get rid of Investigate the Lab because I don't plan on going back. We're making a hard push to rescue Will. Next card in the stack is Demogorgon Feeds. Not good. Create a stack of 2 tokens in an empty Demogorgon slot. This is the card I was telling you about that eventually would come through. So we got ourselves 2 tokens we have to place inside the Demogorgon slot. So now that token is now worth 3 instead of 2. Also, well, I guess the good news here is that gives us a slot that's filled with only 2 tokens, which makes it easier to attack the Demogorgon in that slot and hopefully push it out of this area. So in a way that actually kind of helps us. It's as if all the slots were filled, each character would gain a fear. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead with Lucas's turn, and Lucas is going to move in here, which is now we got the combination of the 2 in here. So these cards for Lucas now become more powerful. So I've got the ability to use 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I've got 2 here. That's 11 against this Demogorgon. So we're gonna go ahead and select a slot. And thanks to the fact that thematically this thing just fed and it increased its overall value of its tokens, but then left a slot with only 2 tokens in it, that's the slot I'm going after with my 11 to guarantee I can take this. A 2 and a 2 is going to be enough to defeat the Demogorgon. It's not removed from the game. There's still other slots here, and it doesn't ever get removed fully from the game, but we do get to move it 1 adjacent spot. So Lucas gets the job done with his gasoline and is able to get this thing moved away. And now we're done. We've committed all these cards. There's nothing on it in terms of danger icons. They can all go away. We're going to replenish up 5 cards from the action deck. And it's time to draw some scene cards. So this could be where things get tossed at us where we're not expecting it. We have 2 cards to draw. The first one is Blood in the Water. Move the Demogorgon to your location. Then each character in your location gains 1 fear. This thing has come right back at us. Jim Hopper has increased his fear. He is 1, 2, 3, 4 spots from being consumed by fear. We don't want that to happen. Lucas doesn't increase it because Steve's ally card saves that for him. 1 more scene card to go. Let's see what we get. We got ourselves, oh my gosh, another Demogorgon feeds. This is literally the exact same thing. So we're going to go ahead and set up a token stack of 2 here, and that's going to go into his health area. Those are the 2 I'm going to be going after with Hopper. Jim's turn begins. Taking a look at his cards, he's got some great ones, and we're going to go after this stack right here. I'm not moving. We're going to fight this Demogorgon. So this is worth 2. This is worth 2. So that's a total of 4 right there. 3 for the bear trap. That's going to make 7, and all we really need is another 3. So let's just go ahead, just to guarantee that we're not going to fail on this. We'll put this one in. We'll keep these 2 for later because they're nice. So that's a total of 10 right there. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Flipping over these 2. We had way more than enough. Demogorgon gets pushed adjacent. All right, we're around to the scene cards. Let's see what we get. We got 2 scene cards to pull for the act. The first one is Demogorgon Strikes. Move the Demogorgon to your location, then any 1 character in your location gains a fear. If you're in the upside down, the character gains fear equal to the number of No! So that is going to increase this thing by 2. Jim is getting awfully close. And actually, we're going to choose to have Lucas take that fear. So instead, we'll bring Jim back down because it does say any 1 character taking the fear. Normally it'd be 1, but it's 2 because we're in the upside down. So this individual is back in our space. Lucas is going up the charts by 2. And at least we're keeping Jim off of the cliff. And we're going to go ahead now and figure out what we got coming next. It is going to be Federal Patrol. So move a patrol 1 location towards you, then each character would discard a card. It's just going to be movement in this case for that patrol. That's going to resolve the scene cards. We've moved the shortest route possible to get over here. So the plan now is going to be to change up our strategy. Instead of being in the same spot, I'm going to actually have Lucas attempt to move out of the spot that we're currently in and hopefully draw the Demogorgon away versus how we've been doing it where they just keep coming back to the same spot. So I'm going to have Lucas go ahead. He's going to move from this location to here. That is going to increase his fear, but the first time he gains it or gains a fear in a turn, he ignores it thanks to Steve. Now that he's here, he's going to do some committing here. Now this is where it gets scary. I do want to take out this stack to try to remove the last 2 stacks for the Demogorgon. That would be huge. I would make these 0 tokens, and that would be very, very beneficial. Because I think a lot of these are going to be those tokens at this point, being that I think there's only, well, I think we've only run into 2, if I'm not mistaken from this. I think there was 2 in this stack, so there should be 3 in here if I'm not miscounting. So we're going to go ahead, and how much do we have to commit? Well, this is where it gets dangerous because I don't want to be pulling a ton of scene cards, but in a way I kind of do because I kind of want to pull things towards me versus towards him. So let's go ahead and kind of overcommit, I guess. We won't go too crazy, but we need at least a good spread here. So if we go 7, that might be decent enough, I think, to hopefully make it happen, although it's a little bit scary because it may not work out. Do we go all out? Do we go all out? Let's go all out. Let's be nuts. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Let's see if we do this. There's a 4. Good thing we did. 6. Oh no! Are we shy by just 1? So that's 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We are. Well, my friends, that is bad news. I really thought I had that, but I did not. So I've removed 1 at random from the stack, put the other 2 back here. So we've progressed at it, but haven't succeeded very well. And this is going to hurt because now we go into Lucas's turn. There's going to be 5 scene cards coming his way. The first one we have here is Toxic. Each character in the Upside Down must remove 1 of their items from the game or gain 2 fear. I'm choosing to remove both of my characters' items at this point because I don't want to take any more fear. The Demogorgon is going to feed, so that's okay, I guess, but it also adds to the value of these tokens, which isn't good. So that's going to be the second one. Next up off the top of the deck is They're Everywhere. Move the closest patrol 2 locations towards you, then discard the top 3 cards of the action deck if any patrol is in your location. If there are less than 3 cards, discard the rest of the deck instead. Well, this isn't good, so it made it from the school down here to me in 2 moves, so we discard the top 3 cards of the action deck if there's a patrol in location, which there is. Again, this was all part of my plan to draw their attention towards me, so hopefully this actually works out. Next one off the top is Through the Walls. Each character in a location without another character gains 2 fear. Well, that's terrifying. Lucas is now 2 away from being terrified. Jim is also 2 away from being terrified. We are right on the edge here, and this does not help me because I already used it earlier in my turn here. So we've got 4 cards, 4 scene cards pulled so far. We're going for the 5th one. I'm hoping it's a Demogorgon to be pulled towards Lucas. Let's see what we get. We got the End of the Day. Reshuffle the scenes deck and move the Demogorgon to any location in the Upside Down. That is perfect. Now, what's on the bottom of this card hurts my soul because it would have been nice to have gotten this much earlier, but I needed everything to work out the way it did by getting everything away from Hopper, which I've now moved the Demogorgon over here to the school, so that should work out nicely. All right, Hopper, this is your window of opportunity. We're not moving, but man, am I ever terrified about this. I don't like the fact these are up to 3, and I think there's 3 in there, so that's 9. Looking at what I have here, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is going to be very close, and I am terrified because if I don't pass this, I have put everything in. I have no items. My fear is maxed. I've been really pushing to get this win, so we're going for it to see if it pans out. I'm being a little bit more aggressive than maybe I would have otherwise, but this seems to be the right time to try this. Let's go ahead and see whether we succeed at rescuing Will. We've got 3 here, so we're starting with 3. Again, a reminder, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So currently 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is insane. This is like the best ending ever. The fact that there was 3 of those in a row, because it's this one that I have no idea, but it cannot be any higher than a 2 or I'm screwed. No, by 1. That was absolutely brutal. So we went up 1 on the fear track. We're not out yet, but man, did we ever push hard with that. So this is going to cost us. We're going to be drawing 4 scene cards, 2 for the act, and then we're drawing 2 for this. Jeez, this is getting really tight. Let's see how we do off the top of the deck. Of course, I have to draw my hand up first. Let's actually go ahead and draw my hand first of 5. And we know we're drawing 4 scene cards, so I'll take these ones away. They're going to go to the discard pile. What's crazy is the deck up there is depleted. I had 5 cards left, so they are all out now. So at this point, when we have to draw another one, we're going to reshuffle the deck, and the act is going to increase. And I can tell you right now, it's really important to mention the fact that if you have enough cards to draw up to 5, you do not need to reshuffle the deck and move the act track marker 1 more space. So I don't have to move to act 3 yet because I had exactly 5 cards to replenish Hopper up. So we're good, but we still have to pull these 4 scene cards, and I am a bit terrified. Let's go ahead with the first one. Blood in the Water. Move the Demogorgon to your location, then each character in your location gains fear. The card I didn't want to see. And that, my friends, is going to be a loss. And it was so close. I cannot believe I was 1 point away from actually succeeding this turn. That would have been absolutely incredible. I knew if I missed that moment, things would go south really fast, and they did. But this was a lot of fun. The game is on the edge of a knife, and as you play through this, Season 1, you'll also enjoy Season 2 as it changes things up with a different board on the opposite side and different foes to go up against and a different theme and feel because, of course, Season 2, you'll have different Season 2 scene cards, Season 2 ally cards, and just a different feel to the game overall, but a similar feel in terms of going after the different token pools and completing them. One thing that I realized earlier that I didn't do that I should have done would have been to replenish this patrol token stack. The second you clear it, you would just put another one here, but I had no intention of attacking the patrol at all, so there wasn't any gameplay back there. But this was a lot of fun. Really hope this helps you get a great idea as to how the game flows and operates. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Unfortunately, it was a loss, but it was fun nevertheless. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.